Hey, church family, it's my turn to lead our weekly devotional. I'm really glad you're with me today. Thank you so much for your time. You know, some of my very first exposure to any church at all has to do with food. And maybe that's because I grew up Southern Baptist. We liked casseroles and to surround ourselves with great meals. Maybe we did that. But my very first deep involvement with any church at all was Trinity Baptist Church right here in Norman. And that was the first church I really ever got plugged into. It's where I found Christ and surrendered my life to him. And it all really started on Wednesday nights for me at church, where they would serve a meal. And I would go there with my friends and we would have a meal together every Wednesday. And the meal was usually the same. The only meal I remember was a corn dog and peaches, and it was $1. And you would go in the fellowship hall of the church, and it was all wood paneling and had those wood accordion sliding divider doors like over the kitchen. And so you'd walk up there and they would hand you your tray and they'd put a corn dog on there and spoon you out some peaches on your tray and get you a glass of iced tea, and sit down and enjoy that. And I just look forward to those Wednesday nights so much at Trinity Baptist Church right here in our great city. Another memory that's seared into my brain and felt in my heart is when I was more of a teenager and we were growing up out in Noble, where we landed after a move. And we didn't have a whole lot, just struggled financially. But the church that we were a part of at the time, 12 Corners Baptist Church, they made it a habit of providing food for our family several times. I couldn't tell you how many times they brought food to our home, but I do remember the deacons bringing food out to our house and setting it on the table. And it was always in brown paper bags, and it was always full to the brim. And it was usually canned goods and dry goods, and sometimes it was a gallon of milk or maybe some fresh ground beef or something like that. But those are just moments in my mind that are just always going to be there, and I always feel them when I think about it. Even right now, I'm thinking about them walking in our kitchen and setting those groceries on the table, and it made a difference for me. It was huge. And those moments for me, although they're about food, they're so much deeper than that, because what those moments showed me about the church is that when the church does its job and the church plays its function, it makes a gigantic difference in the lives of many people. And when I say the word many, yes, it means a lot, but to have many, you have to have individuals. And I was one of those individuals that the church made a gigantic difference for. That was me. That was my life. And same thing for my brother Dustin. And so when I have those memories come out of my mouth and I share my heart with you about them, they give you a little bit of glimpse of probably why our church functions the way that we function. We want to take care of one another. We want to make sure people's needs are being met around here. We want to make sure needs are fulfilled, that there is food on the table, that people do have electricity and they do have their basic needs being met, and that we are being the church. And that's why we have such a huge Wednesday night meal here all the time, because I got corn dogs and peaches when I was a kid. That's why we do the things we do, because I had groceries put on my table. And we just don't know, church. As you look around our building here and you look at our children and our youth, and I mean this when I say this, you just don't know who is walking our hallways, who is sitting in our chairs on Sunday morning, or who is playing on our playground that might be the next pastor or the next youth minister, or maybe just the next great servant leader of their generation, or maybe just a godly husband that just does awesome things for the Lord their whole life because of this church. That's why what we do here is so important. Our church is a beautiful thing. And sometimes we just need to be reminded about why we do what we do and why it's so important that we are trying to make a difference, an eternal difference in the lives of many people. But those many, out of those many, there are single ones, individuals like myself, like my brother, whose lives were set on a completely different path because of the love of the church. Paul says it like this in Ephesians chapter 3. He says something really big. He says that it was God's eternal purpose to use the church to show his love. That God's eternal purpose was to use Cross Church, to use the church down the street and the church across town and the church on the other side of North America to display the mystery of God. And that's his love for everybody. That's God's eternal purpose. He goes on to say these great words. Paul says, I pray that out of the glorious riches that God may strengthen you with power through his Spirit in your inner being, that Christ may dwell in your hearts. And I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, that you may have the power together is the key word, the church, with all the Lord's holy people, the church, to grasp how wide and how long and how high and how deep is the love of Christ, and to know the love that surpasses all knowledge, that you may be filled to the measure of all the fullness of God. That's us. That's the church. We are involved, a part of, selected to be God's plan and a part of his purpose and displaying his love to the world. And I'm here today because of it. I'm leading our church today because of it. And so today, I just hope that all of us understand how beautiful it is to belong to this church. And may we go and be it. May we show the love of Christ to our neighbor, to our friends, to the people that are a part of this church, to our family, because being the church, that's our purpose. And that's what God put us here for. Love you so much. Hope you have a great day. And if you need anything, reach out to us. Take care.